So I call Merriman Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Much appreciated. So first, I just want to thank the Ngāpuhi Whanaunga over here, the member David Seymour, for paying apparently so much attention to my speeches often, and including tonight, one of his earlier contributions, where I think he talked about something about my female fury righteousness. He's called me the Donald Trump of New Zealand. He plays violins after I get up and speak very often. And then tonight he gets up and he talks about the free market.
Point of order, David Seymour.
Mr. Chair, the member's engaging in a hearty debate, but she has also accused me of attacking her in a sexist way, which I have not and would not do, and I think she should withdraw.
Order. Well, the only if the member has taken offence by what the member has said, if the member has taken offence in what's been said, I am on my feet. If the member is offended by what has been said and takes personal offence, he can ask me to intervene. David Seymour.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would not attack another politician on sexist grounds, and I am offended by that accusation, and I think she should withdraw the statement.
I'll ask the member to withdraw that comment.
Mr. Chair, I'm only quoting what he said.
Order. All you have to do is to withdraw the comment. Merriman Davidson.
Point of order.
No, I've just ruled Materia Ture will sit. Sit, I'm on my feet. You sit too. David Seymour has taken offence to a comment that's been taken. The process is he's taken personal offence. I'm intervening, and I've asked the member, Merriman Davidson, just to withdraw the comment, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to make any other comment, and then you can continue your speech. Merriman Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I withdraw my comment.
Merriman Davidson.
Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable Annie King.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if you could spend some time looking at a ruling the Speaker gave some time ago about personal offence. The Speaker at that time ruled that it was not a matter of an individual taking personal offence, it was a matter of whether it offended the House.
No, look,
yes, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you. No, look, I don't need any help on this matter. I'm happy to look at that point. I'm happy to look at that point. I have ruled in the past on this matter, and I'm being consistent in what I've done. Now, Merriman Davidson has the call if she wishes to take it. Is this a new point of order, Materia Ture?
Seeking your clarification, sir, on your ruling.
Point of order then, Materia Ture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we get some clarification then when Speaker Carter makes a ruling?
I have just said that.
Yes.
The member.
Can I finish
well,
my
the
point of order?
member will sit then, because I've just answered that question.
No, sir, I haven't asked the question.
You just said you want a clarification of a point that had been made, which the Honourable Annie King brought up. I said that I will consider that matter. Well, what's the new point? Because all you're doing is trifling with my decision. Materia Ture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My point of order is this. When Speaker Carter makes a ruling about the definition of personal offence in relation to the House, and you, sir, make a ruling that is different from his, how then are we to interpret between the two rulings as to what constitutes sufficient personal offence that another member will be required to withdraw and apologise? That is my point of order.
Any member, if they feel offended by something that's been said, can take, and it relates to a personal offence. Any member has the right to protect their integrity. But I'm on my feet. The member, David Seymour, did take offence, and it's a very simple process to actually ask the member who in this case, Merriman Davidson, to withdraw the comment, which she has done. And now we can continue. Any member has the right to take offence at a comment that's been made. It's very, very straightforward. Now, Merriman Davidson, you have the call. I hope you're not going to be... is this a new point of order?
Point of order.
Ian, let's go away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure that there is a standing order or a Speaker's ruling that refers to the issue I want to raise. So I ask that you perhaps reflect on this and maybe bring a ruling regarding it. And that is, what is a member to do when they are accurately reflecting...
No, that's a matter of opinion. Look, the member has taken offence. The member has taken offence. That's all that I'm concerned about. I have asked the member to withdraw. Now, so I'm ending the matter. We're moving on. Because all you're doing is interfering with a decision that I've made, and the member took offence. Marama Davidson has withdrawn the comment. I'm asking you to continue. Marama Davidson. No, I don't need any assistance from the member or sit. Marama Davidson, you have the call. No, if this is relitigating anything I've said, the member will leave. The question is that the Speaker be recalled. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. Aye. The Speaker will be recalled.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, you've been recalled on the basis of a decision that I made, and this came about when David Seymour moved a point of order against a comment that had been made by Marama Davidson. He took personal offence at the comment that had been made. I ruled that if the member had taken personal offence, that the member should withdraw the comment, which she subsequently did. In the meantime, there were a number of points of orders, one from Materia Ture that said that I was inconsistent with previous decisions that you as Speaker had made. There were other points along the lines that the Honourable Enoch King made the point that I should consider the decision, and I said that I would read the transcript and I would come back, and the point that she brought up, that I would consider again and report back. I have been consistent over the period of time when someone has taken a personal offence. It's an offence against that person's integrity, and I believe that if someone so feels offended by such a decision, that to protect the integrity of that person, that someone should, the person making that accusation should in fact withdraw the comment, which in this case the member did so, and we were then to move on, but you've been recalled.
I'll hear from Materia Ture.
Mr Speaker, there are two issues, as I understand it. Others may have a different view. The first was the question of the definition for personal offence. In previous rulings you have made, you have said that whether there is personal offence taken, it is offence to the House as a whole, not to the individual. However, the Chair did rule that because Mr Seymour had taken personal offence to himself, that was sufficient to ask my colleague to withdraw and apologise. They are two different definitions of personal offence, and we sought clarification on which of those definitions should apply. The second matter was that my colleague was described as having female fury righteousness in the debate earlier this afternoon by Mr Seymour. Now, she referred to that comment in her contribution during the committee stages. Mr Seymour took offence at her reference to his previous statement about her in this debate. And there is a question now about whether or not a member is able to stand and repeat the statements made by other members in this House about themselves and then be required to withdraw and apologise for that statement. That does not seem consistent with standing orders or the order of the House, sir.
I'll hear from Mr Seymour.
Mr Speaker, I may be able to assist. The confusion here is that I took offence at being accused of describing the member by her gender. I think that's offensive to me and to the House. I would not attack another politician in that way. The confusion has arisen, and the yellows, which I've just had emailed through to me, will confirm this. I said that she is a ball of self-righteous fury, not a ball of female fury. Had I said the latter, I would be the one apologising, but that's not what I said, and the Hansard will confirm that I am correct. Can I suggest to the member that rather than self-righteousness, she should get some hearing aids?
So,
Order.
sir, so
Order.
that was
Order.
unnecessary. I think we can all agree. My colleague is prepared to accept that she did not get the quote completely correct once we have seen the transcript from Hansard, but nonetheless, there still remains the central questions here. That in a debate, as to that matter, in a debate such as we are having, that a member should be able to stand and reflect on the comments made by other members that are made about themselves. And second, what is the definition of personal offence that we are to use in this House? Is it an offence to the individual Member of Parliament, or is it an offence to the House? We have had long debates on that. It is now more confusing than ever.
No, I'll hear from Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, I think in considering that matter there is a need to draw a distinction between whether a member feels they have been misrepresented and whether a member takes offence at a matter, because the remedies for those things are different. And if a member feels they have been misrepresented, then there are steps that they can take in order to seek to have that corrected. And the threshold for that would be, if you like, more lenient than for offence. The threshold has to be reasonable for offensiveness. Otherwise, we'll have members taking offence at everything other members say that they disagree with. But if they feel that they've been misrepresented in the debate, then there are ways that they can seek to correct it. But asking a member to withdraw or apologise, or both, for a comment that a member feels might misrepresent what they have said, but isn't in itself offensive, is going to lead the House into a state of quite regular disorder, I would have thought.
Can I hear from the Lindsay Tish?
Well, I subscribe to the view that Chris Hipkins, and I specifically asked the member, did he take personal offence? If it had been a matter of interpretation, that is a debating point. But I specifically asked, did the member take offence? And that's why I pursued the measure that I did. So I subscribe to your view. It's a very clear one. That's why I took the course of action I did.
I'll hear from David Seymour.
Mr. Speaker, on the first point, the accusation made is not only personally offensive to me, it brings the House into disrepute. So I think the debate around that is moot. Secondly, we can argue about whether or not the member genuinely misheard what I had said, or if she deliberately attempted to slur me with the accusation. But one way or another, it was something that caused offence and brought the House into disrepute. So I don't think we actually need a lot of this debate. I think we're actually ready to move on.
Can I just ask whether the part in the explanations received, particularly from Materia Ture, I don't understand the point you're making, the member's making about misrepresentation. I can understand the comment made, the offence taken, but then you raised a point of misrepresentation, which I just cannot follow.
Sir, I did not address the question of misrepresentation directly. That was my colleague Chris Hipkins, and I think he's right.
Now, he then spoke further to your point, but I don't understand the basic point.
So the essential point is, if in a debate, and we all know that this is a rigorous debate, and you tell us that on a regular basis, quite rightly, there is a lot that is said, some of which can be misunderstood. Now, if a member of Parliament stands up and refers to something that somebody has said, particularly if it is about them, a personal comment about them, they should be able to debate, to mention that personal comment, to make their own analysis about that comment, without this concern about it being taken as a personal offence. If it's a misrepresentation, then that is a legitimate position for another member to take. But then to use personal offence to force them to withdraw and apologise over a comment that was made about them doesn't make any sense. And we still get back, sir, to the primary issue, which is what is the definition of personal offence that is used by the Speaker?
I thank all members for their contribution. I was involved in a meeting, so not listening to the House as we led into this. So it's a difficult one for me to sense the tension was here. I do acknowledge that it's a vigorous debate. We're in a situation where we're in an urgency. We're debating something that's obviously finely balanced within this House on the votes that have been taken. It's something that's not going to be aired before a select committee. As to the issue of when offence is taken, you cannot define it exactly. It occurs at a time when offence could be taken by a member. There have times when I've ruled that offence has been taken. I'm surprised that offence has been taken, and I've said that. But if offence is taken and that creates disorder, then a presiding officer, as Mr Tish has done in this case, will accept that the member has taken offence and ask that that comment be withdrawn. Many times when I've made that decision, I've made it without actually hearing the interjection myself. I've relied on the fact that a member says he is offended. If he is offended, it is an offence to the whole House. Order. And on that occasion, this is what's happened here. The presiding officer, Mr Tish, has been the chair. He's been judging the proceedings. It is his job to keep order in the House. Without doubt, offence was taken. All members can judge whether offence should have been taken. He has decided that the way to then maintain the dignity and the order in this House is to require the member to then withdraw that offence. If it had been more offensive, he may have taken the option of asking the member to withdraw and apologise. But as I understand it, he didn't do that. He simply asked for it to be withdrawn. And I further understand that the member then did withdraw that remark. So on that basis, I completely back Mr Tish as he's attempting to maintain order in this House for what has been, without doubt, a fairly tense discussion over the last hour. A further point of order?
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Speaker, can I just get clarity then that it is a legitimate point of order for taking personal offence for a male member to be, in his own mind, in whatever way, accused of sexism, but it is not a legitimate point of order for personal offence for a female member who takes offence at being told she backs rapists?
Order. No, I think I covered that in the very first part by saying there are times when remarks will be taken and a presiding officer, an offence will then be taken with that remark, and a presiding officer needs to immediately decide how best to maintain orders. So I'm not going to comment on a particular comment that's made as to whether it meets a threshold. A presiding officer in this case is required to maintain order in the House. Mr Tish chose to accept that Mr Seymour had been offended by the comment and then asked the member to withdraw. That member did withdraw. That is my final decision. Mr Chairman.
Mr Speaker.
I declare the House returned to committee.
Now, the committee is resumed. Marama Davidson has the call.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr Chair. This is a rather hefty, vigorous debate tonight. All sorts of things have been flying across the House, including from the member David Seymour about myself and my speeches. I haven't once chosen to stand and take offence at any of them because this is rigorous debate and I'm up for it, including right now. And actually, after all of this, all I was going to say and suggest to Mr David Seymour was that he do what I do, which is completely ignore him. The only way I find out, the only way I find out, Mr Sir, about what he said about me is because I get tweeted it. I find out later on what the member has said about me because people are hilariously laughing at it. And so that's how I find out. Other than that, my advice is, what I do is ignore him. So I'll just carry on from there and say that what I wanted to outline in this contribution of what I've got left is I wanted to acknowledge the Ihu Mātau campaign against this SHA and support what my colleague Pēni Henare of Tāmaki Makaurau has said. Now, what I want to go back to very, very strongly is that the Ihu Mātau community, the land that they are trying to protect is right adjacent to some incredible ancient stone archaeological sites, incredible. Now, we need to remember the land that was proposed for this SHA under this Part 1 of the original bill. So Part 1 of this bill extends the fast tracking. So we have to remember that was confiscated land. That was confiscated land. Now, the Ihu Mātau campaign to oppose this SHA, the special housing area, under the original legislation, I went to the Auckland Council governance meetings as well as the select committee meetings and listened to the presentation from the Ihu Mātau campaigners to protect their land. Now, you know what happened? Both the council hearings and the parliamentary select committee hearings across the House, across the parties, agreed that this was a bit of a mistake, this one. The approval for this one was a bit of a sham. And there was sympathy across all of the parties for this muck-up of this particular legislation. So I did want to put the Ihu Mātau community and people into the House tonight under this Part 1 of this legislation, because too late, too late, there was even sympathy and agreement across the parties and at Auckland Council that if they had known properly, see, this is what happens when you fast track the information. If they had all the information in front of them, they admit that they would have made a different decision. This is what happens and can happen with this fast-tracked legislation, and this is what I wanted to put into the House under Part 1 of this bill. So they all admitted and had some sympathy for the fact that why on earth are we trying to develop next? And I actually want to acknowledge Nick Smith went to this community. He did. He gave them an ear, but it was too late, Mr. Chair. It was too late. He had already signed it off, because that's what this fast-track process did. He's stuck with it now. He's stuck with that legacy of this wrong decision for the Ihumātao community to not have their precious, ancient Stonehenge land protected under this fast-tracked consenting process. So that needs to be strongly acknowledged in this House, and I wanted to stand and do that. I'm sorry that David Seymour was offended at the start of my speech for something. All I was doing was an innocent synopsis of how he refers to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Honourable David Parker.